government has now given a media briefing ahead of the country's participation in the World Economic Forum annual meeting that's expected later this month. The delegation that will attend that annual meeting engaged on messaging teams, at least the Team South Africa, I beg your pardon, let me rephrase that. They engaged on what the message Team South Africa will be sending to Davos in Switzerland. Watching developments is our reporter, Katlego Legodi, who joins us now live. And Katlego, hopefully you won't be tripping through your words. Help us distill that message then. What kind of messaging is the country hoping to give to the world?
Well, it does happen, Ayanda, but a very good morning to you and to our viewers at home. We're coming to you live from Sandton this morning, just at the back of a press briefing that we had with government and the business delegate. We see government really just optimistic and just talking about this resounding optimism going into Davos, Switzerland in the coming week. Remember that this is an annual meeting whereby we see various of these delegates coming through from globally, basically, and South Africa would want to play a part where that is concerned. And we see them really today just coming into Sandton with optimism around where we find ourselves in terms of issues and challenges that we've had where the economy is concerned. And we see them as well just talking about how we're going to ensure that we are working in line with the theme. The theme is around digitization in the intelligence age, and South Africa is really moving into this space as well, optimistic about where we find ourselves in terms of the fourth industrial revolution. There are others that are already talking about the fifth industrial revolution, but we hear that really everybody here are talking about just issues of collaboration. And really we saw business optimistic about where we find ourselves now. You know very well that the country has had various of those challenges, and Minister Pakstau is the one that is leading this delegation today, but going into Davos it will be led by the finance minister. I'm going to bring him into the conversation now. Just give us a breakdown of the meeting. It was a closed meeting, but they gave us a sense of some of the things that came out of the meeting, and we hear, Minister, that it's really all systems go when you look at where we find ourselves, and optimistic about South Africa and Team South Africa in terms of the business and government coming together, collaborating to have one message going into Switzerland in the coming week. Welcome to the SABC, Minister. Give us a sense of where we find ourselves now and really what came out of the business breakfast. It was a closed session. We're not privy to what was happening in there. Welcome to the SABC.
Thank you very much and good morning. I should say that the messaging from business in particular was quite optimistic to the extent that we are able to reflect on the progress that we're making as a country. Firstly, the reality of a stable democracy that we're able to present to the world. There are many countries that have gone through elections in the past year in particular, and different countries have had different experiences. And our country has had one of those unique experiences where we're able to collaborate and cooperate around governance and overcoming the impasse that came out of the elections. The second is a message about cooperation between government and business. The reality that we've been working on structural reforms and they are beginning to yield the results, the regulatory instruments that we're looking at in terms of structural reforms, but also the partnerships that we have with business in addressing structural reforms in our country, the extent to which we've enabled private sector participation in different elements of the infrastructure needs, the progress that we've made with regards to the electricity environment and overall energy situation, the progress that we're making with regards to transport and logistics, the network statement that has been released by the Ministry of Transport that facilitate private sector participation in the railway networks is an indicator of a collaboration and cooperation that is yielding the results in our country. And we think that we're able to present a message that's positive at Davos. But most important, this is a unique year for South Africa because we're going to Davos as president of the G20 at the helm of economic discourse in the world, and we're able to lead those processes. Therefore, countries and businesses would be looking up to us in terms of the solutions that we'll be providing. And we've come together between business and government and said, this is a collective message that we're able to send to the world. But over the next year, we'll be working collectively to ensure that we're able to influence the way in which global governance around a whole range of issues that impact our economies are about.
Do you get a sense, Minister, as we go into these meetings year in and year out, that we really get the best out of what is happening there? Do we see, this followed by well-needed investments coming into South Africa? We're looking at 1.5% to 1.7% economic growth in this year, 2025. And you hear a lot of people saying that the country really comes far in terms of where we come from, in terms of load shedding and the energy crisis that we've had here. Do we see some of those solutions that are coming from Davos coming into South Africa to help us resolve some of the domestic challenges that we have here at home?
I had the opportunity to reflect with our team in the department last night on my diary in Davos, let alone the diary of my counterparts and business leaders. And the number of people that have said we would want to talk to the South African government about investment opportunities, would want to talk to the South African government about expanding our investments in the country. And that is an indicator of the extent to which people have an interest in what we're presenting in Davos, both in terms of the collective platforms that would be participating in, but also in terms of the individual meetings. We're struggling to actually find time in our diaries to be able to accommodate all the people that want to engage with us, to say we want to look at South Africa as a destination and we want to hear what your country says. So I'm quite optimistic based simply on the number of people that have reached out, and in interaction with my colleagues in government, we're all now beginning to say, well, we need to complement each other in terms of our respective areas of engagements.
And just before we let you go, which areas in terms of sectors are we looking at taking to Davos? I know energy, we're starting to stabilize where that is concerned. Minister Hossein Tsoramogopa doing a sterling job in terms of making sure that the lights are on. We see the theme centered around digitization and where we find ourselves. We hear other nations even talking about them having moved from the 4th industrial revolution into the 5th industrial revolution. What are some of those issues that you're taking into Davos that you reckon that these are the sectors that you'll be presenting to the world?
Digitization, of course, is one of the areas that we'll be engaging on, and thinking about South Africa leapfrogging in terms of the digital age and digital transformation is an important issue that would be presented. But also decarbonization, the reality of the impact of climate change, but also global treaties around climate change, talking about the just transition and what it means to the South African economy, the conversion into electric cars, battery systems, and green steel, and other measures that have been put in place to deal with decarbonization or the impact of climate change, and therefore the need for decarbonization and the opportunities for the South African economy, investment in green hydrogen, the green hydrogen initiatives that we have as a country, collaboration around critical minerals, our endowments as a country and our sister countries in the region, and what we'd be presenting collectively to the world and saying, we've got the endowments, we've got the opportunities for you to come and invest here and leverage off the minerals that we have on the continent and ensure that we're able to mutually benefit from these minerals. So when we're talking about decarbonization, it is in its broadest sense. And even when we talk about digitization, we're also talking about the rare earth minerals, of which the continent has a significant portion of.
All right, Minister, everything of the best going into the coming week. Thank you very much for your time. Minister Pakstau coming through there as the Trade, Industry and Competition Minister, giving us a sense of what they're taking to Davos as Team South Africa, and really, Ayanda, a sense of optimism in terms of what came out of this meeting here. And you see them saying that there are those cross-cutting issues globally that South Africa is also already struggling and grappling with as we speak right now. But really punting on economic growth, job creation, reskilling and upskilling in terms of the digital era. This in line with the theme going into Davos 2025 in Switzerland in the coming week. Ayanda?
All right, Katlego Legodi, thanks very much indeed for breaking it down for us. Katlego's live to us there from Sandton in Johannesburg.